Hi, I'm Lori. Welcome to Paul Brownstein's office. And here is Paul Brownstein.
Oh, hi. I'm glad you're able to come in here today, and I'm going to give you a little idea of some of the things that we do here. And before I get involved in all that, this is the interview room where I see people and listen to their stories and tell them basically what I think they might need to know. And as I like to tell people, virtually everything in this room has some kind of story behind it, which very often is relevant to what clients want when they come in here. For example, over here, I keep this here, this little sculpture of an ear. And there's a reason for this thing being here. When I was growing up, people said, gee, you ought to be a lawyer, you have what's called a gift of gab. People think to be a good lawyer, you need to know how to talk. And even though there's some truth in that, the reality is that's not the number one skill a lawyer needs. This is the number one skill a lawyer needs. They have to be able to listen. And a lot of people want to tell you what they want you to know, instead of listening to what it is you want to find out. And they're not the same thing. I always ask for things that I call pertinent negatives. What is this not about? And very often it gets the client going into the right direction to help you figure out what they need to know. Another example is this picture I have here on my wall, which I've had for a very long time. And I keep it here for two reasons. First of all, I like it. Of course, I like this picture a lot. But here's the story. Many years ago, I was married in a first marriage, and it wound up in a not very happy divorce. A little bit to do with how come I do a lot of divorce work these days. I've been there, done that. I'm not going to be some abstract person telling you how to live your life and do your divorce, never having had the personal experience. I do have a personal experience. But here's the reason why it's here. My first wife knew I had bought this thing for very little money, many years before. And one day, a man who owned a gallery came to see me and wanted to buy this thing and offered a great deal more money for it than I ever imagined or that I paid for it. And I made perhaps the mistake of telling my first wife about that adventure that day, and she remembered it. The day came when it was time for our divorce, which happened, which is unfortunate. We litigated over this thing. My wife wanted it very badly and made me really, really work hard to save it because I thought it was mine. I thought it was, I felt that way, I fought for it. It's here today, as I said, partly because I really like it. Clearly I won. And winning is the point I'm going to make here. I remind myself and I tell my clients, it wasn't worth it. Don't spend a lot of time and energy fighting over things that may not matter later and what it might cost you because of that. Not a good idea. Over here is a blowgun, a real one. This is right from Africa. It came from there. It's not a model, it's not a mock-up, it's the real thing. I got this from a client who thought that I was going to be able to use this thing to show the other party what this case is really all about. People think that. I keep it here because it's kind of clever, and I remember that, and I really like it, and it tells me what is all about in this business, which is doing for people what they need, which may not necessarily be what people ought to have. As an example, I have down here a cartoon I keep for my clients in my divorce cases. This is clever. It's a man who's obviously a lawyer talking to his client. And he says to the client, your wife's also asking that you rot in hell for eternity. But I think that's negotiable. Well, there's a joke to that, but it's deadly serious. People should not be spending time and energy arguing over things unnecessary, and the client who doesn't know these things, in a manner of speaking, I've been divorced 2,000 times, the client is all new and unusual to them. And perhaps in closing, I want to show this last picture I have here on the wall. And I got this in an antique shop one year. I sometimes ask clients, can you read this thing? And right away they assume from a distance it's some foreign language. It looks like it might be Hebrew or Greek or something. Actually, George Bernard Shaw invented an alphabet. So this says right here, the George Bernard Shaw alphabet. And it's his own individual letters, which are English, and underneath it in smaller print, it says what it means in regular English print. The greatest problem of communication is the illusion that it has been accomplished. And that is the essence of negotiation, because it isn't just divorce stuff we do. We do contracts, we do discussion about business acquisitions, transfer of partnership interests, all kinds of stuff. And if there is not an understanding of what you're trying to say, what they're trying to say to you, it doesn't get accomplished very well. That's terribly important that when you work with a client, again, you do what they need, but sometimes they have to make allowances to be better understanding what it is they really need, which may not be where they're really focused. And we spend a lot of time doing that. I think what I might want to do also is spend a couple of seconds here showing you some other features of our office so that you can see how things get done around here. We have this room for meetings with our clients and others. We have settlement discussions in here. We do real estate closings, things like that. And you see paperwork here, and honest to goodness, that paperwork is not even a half of one case. That's in the middle of a very complicated bunch of proceedings. We're going to be doing discovery and depositions on it, and this is where we meet the client and talk about it and spread the papers out so it's convenient. And in here is another office I sometimes use, and this is what I call my working office. And there's where I meet clients. In here is where I actually do most of the work I do most of the time. And you can see it's got set up for a working desk. They have paperwork, and my computer's over there. Try to get things done. And this is where I do the work that clients don't normally come in here, and where I do what I do. And it's a nice, comfortable place to get it done. And it looks like what you expect a business office to look like. Now here, however, is something a little bit different. As you came in, you saw the open area for our reception area, and that's what this is right here. And this is where people first come into our office, and they see Lori sitting on the inside. Usually she came out the door to greet you, but she's normally in there. And we are always open when we're available to see people, and we do it here. This is a piece I got in the museum one time. It's appropriate of nothing in particular, it just looks very nice. I found out that it's a real one, and it's nice to have it. If you look through the window here, you can see books on the wall. These are old-time law books, or when we go to have educational seminars that lawyers are required to do every year, have to get credits to keep your license up. And so what's in there now is a bunch of books you see up and down, all of those books. There are different courses I've had to take over the years in different subjects to keep my skills up. And the court wants to see you do that, and I do that regularly, and I actually make use of them. Those bookcases used to have law books in them, research books, all kinds of stuff. This is a modern age. Nobody does that anymore. It's all on the internet, and that I can't show you because it's just internet research. And we do that all the time too.